The way that they are gearing up for this eclipse is peculiar, it's creepy, and we need to talk about it. Welcome back to 5D Mystery School. Let's get into it. Massive explosions may be visible on the sun during the April 8th total solar eclipse. So they are saying that you can see solar flares that could shut down communication. Matter of fact, let me show you the article. Huge explosions from the sun may add a great show to solar eclipse. It's all thanks to a series of massive explosions that one solar physicist says could be visible during the lengthy daytime phenomena. It will be fully over western New York just after 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will move across the nation. The total eclipse of the moon covering the sun could coincide with corona mass ejection (CMEs), which happen when massive particles from the sun are hurled out into space, speculates Ryan French of the National Solar Observatory in Boulder, Colorado. Double solar flare sees sun wake up weeks before total solar eclipse. What do they mean by the sun waking up? Make sure you keep an eye out for my next lecture. The Devil Comet will be a heavenly co-star. Bro, nice choice of words. Heavenly co-star during the eclipse. Here's what to know. Now remember, luciferase was put into the jabs, and the main goal of the jabs was to make it to your pineal gland, the optic thalamus, where Christ returned. So the Devil Comet will be a heavenly co-star. It's coded, bro. So in this first paragraph, they're just saying that a lot of people are going to be watching the eclipse, but a few people are going to be looking off to the side, gazing at the Devil Comet. Worth noting, Jupiter will be at the 18th degree in Taurus on the day of the eclipse. If I were you, I'd brace myself for a major earthquake. And I've warned before, but just want to warn y'all again. Now, I made another video talking about how the ship crashing into the bridge was coded for a premonition of a civil war. Now, fire erupts at Lincoln Memorial, leaving one seriously injured as hazmat team called in. From the Library of Congress, Abraham Lincoln's presidency. Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860 and again in 1864. His first inauguration on March 4th, 1861 featured an unprecedented amount of security around the president-elect, spurred by the approaching onset of the U.S. Civil War. The film Civil War releases in 15 days. 1 + 5 is 6. Abraham Lincoln in Gematria is 6. Again, this is coded and pointing to a civil war. This is noteworthy. Strongest geomagnetic storm in years lights up the sky. This happened on March the 25th. Now, after this happened and you looked up at the moon was brighter, wasn't it? The sun has been bright as hell, hasn't it? Well, the geomagnetic storm, what it did, it charged up the moon and the sun. So that's why the moon has been brighter. And that's why the sun is bright as hell right now. 3 days ago, geomagnetic storm severe enough to bring northern lights to California. Well, let me tell you, if you see the northern lights over California, that means there's a lot of geomagnetic interference taking place. And what could you do with all that geomagnetic energy? Earthquake. Whenever HARP goes off, the sky turns a lot of different colors. That is similar to the aurora borealis, right? HARP creates any weather condition, earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, etc. Amplitude modulation. Okay, so I was doing a little bit of scrolling last night on TikTok on the Clock app, and I noticed this creator mentioned something about the NASA Serpent Deity program. So let's dive a little deeper into what this is. NASA APEP mission to launch 3 sounding rockets in October. That was in 2023. Now we're in 2024. This won't be the only APEP launch. The APEP rockets launched in New Mexico will be recovered and then relaunched from NASA's Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia on April the 8th, 2024. when a total solar eclipse will cross the US from Texas to Maine. The April launches are farther from the eclipse path than for the October annular eclipse, but will present an opportunity to measure just how widespread the effects of an eclipse are. So they're going to launch sounding rockets into the moon's shadow during this eclipse. That's what the APEP mission is, okay? Again, it's all coded. And if you've been following me for a while, you've heard me talk about APEP before. So I already know the students of 5D Mystery School, especially the advanced students over in Patreon, when they heard this, they already knew. Ancient Egypt, many solar eclipse myths revolve around the duality of light and darkness, good and evil. As you might imagine, that puts a rather nefarious spin on the sudden obstruction of the midday sun. Thus, ancient Egyptian cosmology gives us the APEP, the cosmic world serpent. The APEP serpent deity program by NASA is referring to this, okay? APEP embodies chaos and death, making the monster a natural adversary for the sun god Ra. The serpent pursues Ra as the sun god pulls the burning sun disk across the sky, lighting the world. Every so often, APEP nearly consumes the sun disk, resulting in an eclipse. Luckily, Ra and the defenders aboard his sky barge always manage to fight free of the serpent's shadowy coils. Now, it's a similar story in Hinduism, ancient Mesopotamia, Norse mythology. You can pause to read all these, and ancient Persia. And it always involves a serpent eating the sun. Ancient China also had a belief that a dragon ate the sun, and that's why they experienced an eclipse. From Wikipedia, Apep was the ancient Egyptian deity who embodied darkness and disorder, and was thus the opponent of light and Ma'at, order and truth. Ra was the bringer of light and hence the biggest opposer of Apep. Now, Ma'at, order and truth, represents Libra. This eclipse in Aries will be opposing the South Node in Libra. Ma'at, order and truth. And of course, the solar eclipse is going to take place in Aries, and Baphomet or Satan represents that energy of the ram. Notice how they have the fire on top of his head. Aries is cardinal fire. Side note, you know how important the cardinal is because the cardinal houses the cardinal winds. Cardinal in the Holy Roman Church is a senior member of the clergy of the Catholic Church. So Ra was the bringer of light, hence the biggest opposer of Apep. Worth mentioning, Apep is the descendant of Neith. She is the terrifying one, right? Was an early ancient Egyptian deity. She was said to be the first and the prime creator who created the universe and all it contains, and that she governs how it functions. She was the goddess of the cosmos, fate, wisdom, water, rivers, mothers, childbirth, hunting, weaving, and war. So here are some ancient Egyptian depictions of Apep. You can see here they're trying to fight Apep off so he doesn't consume Ra. Take a look. And this symbol you see above Apep there, that's a symbol for Neith. Now, this eclipse will definitely cross some very potent ley lines here in the United States. You can see the path of totality here. Now, I should mention the moon shadow will touch Serpent Mound in Ohio. That's appropriate because you see that red slither going across the NASA symbol? Yeah. Apep represents the Duat. The Duat was the region through which the sun god Ra traveled from west to east each night, and it was where he battled Apep, who embodied the primordial chaos which the sun had to defeat in order to rise each morning and bring order back to the earth. It was also the place where people's souls went after death for judgment, though that was not the full extent of the afterlife. Now, the solar eclipse is taking place on April the 8th, 2024, which is a 2-day in numerology, and Apep in gematria is 2 in simple English. And since I'm running out of time here, so much more to say, but the last thing that I'll leave you with is just take a look at the solar eclipse, right? The way it looks. You could say it's symbolic to the Eye of Ra. I might have to come back and revisit this last thing that I'm gonna leave you with, but I did a video a couple years ago about the Alice experiment from CERN, and now CERN has the White Rabbit project. Oh yeah, and on April the 8th, CERN is going to be firing proton beams. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.